Welcome to this explainer. You know, when we think about the hunt for Osama bin Laden, our minds almost always jump straight to that final, intense military raid. But the real story, it's not just a tactical strike. It's an absolutely massive, intricate puzzle pieced together over 10 grueling years by intelligence analysts. It is a crazy story full of dead ends, frustrating near misses, and the ultimate triumph of meticulous, boots-on-the-ground detective work.
So let's dive right in. To really grasp how this whole thing unraveled, we've got to go back to a moment of huge frustration for the CIA. Picture this. It's just 4 days before the highly contested 2004 U.S. presidential elections. George W. Bush and John Kerry are both out there promising to avenge the 9/11 attacks. And suddenly, a videotape is broadcast on Al Jazeera. In it, Osama bin Laden is looking completely healthy, directly claiming responsibility for 9/11, and just outright taunting the U.S. government. The whole point of this video was to show the world that the most wanted man on Earth felt completely safe. Meanwhile, over at CIA headquarters in Virginia, the special task force dedicated to finding him was staring at leads that had gone completely cold. But the real story of his downfall, it actually begins years earlier, with a single guy being turned away at a Florida airport.
Section 1. The frustrating hunt begins. A missed opportunity in the mountains.
Right, so before we can piece this puzzle together, we have to look at the initial failure at the Tora Bora Caves. In the month right after the 9/11 attacks, U.S. forces pushed al-Qaeda fighters deep into eastern Afghanistan. These fighters dug themselves into the caves of Tora Bora, and the CIA strongly believed bin Laden was right there hiding with them. The American military, alongside local Afghan allies, fought fiercely and eventually called in heavy airstrikes. But by the time the dust settled and the battle was won, bin Laden had completely slipped away. Only 20 people were captured in the aftermath. The CIA was left deeply frustrated for years, forced to just watch as bin Laden released audio and videotapes, including that infamous 2004 election eve broadcast we just talked about. But as it turned out, a seemingly random prisoner from that initial group of 20 would end up handing them a massive clue.
Section 2. Unlocking the first clues, the domino effect.
Okay, so out of those 20 guys captured at Tora Bora, one was a total unknown named Mohammed al-Qahtani, and he completely denied any connection to al-Qaeda, telling interrogators he was simply in Afghanistan for falcon hunting. Sounds harmless enough, right? But then, the CIA checked his fingerprints. When they ran them through their system, boom, they got a direct match. Just weeks before the 9/11 attacks, a man had tried to enter the United States at Orlando International Airport with a one-way ticket and $800 in cash. A suspicious customs agent denied him entry and put him on a flight right back. That man was Mohammed al-Qahtani. The CIA now had hard, physical fingerprint evidence completely blowing his innocent falcon hunter alibi out of the water.
Now watch how fast the dominoes fall here. On the exact same day al-Qahtani tried to enter the U.S., investigators traced a call made from a payphone right there at the Orlando airport to a known al-Qaeda number in the UAE. Investigators figured someone was probably waiting at the airport to pick him up. And backing up that theory, the FBI actually found an abandoned rental car in the Orlando airport parking lot that very same day. And get this, the car had been rented by Mohammed Atta, the hijacker who flew American Airlines Flight 11 into the North Tower. By connecting these dots, investigators deduced that al-Qahtani was likely meant to be the 20th hijacker, destined for United Airlines Flight 93, the plane that ultimately crashed in Pennsylvania.
Section 3. The Phantom Courier Network, Chasing a Ghost.
So, with al-Qahtani finally breaking under interrogation, he dropped a massive clue. He revealed he was trained by a specific courier. This completely flipped the CIA's strategy. They realized they had to hunt couriers, not just top commanders. By 2004, they figured out bin Laden was communicating strictly through a network of human couriers to dodge any electronic surveillance. Fast forward to January 2004, Kurdish forces arrest a guy named Hassan Gul, and he actually has a letter from bin Laden on him. During his interrogation, Gul revealed that a man named Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti was bin Laden's personal courier. And guess what? This was the exact same guy who trained al-Qahtani. But here's where it gets really tricky, the conflicting intel. When the CIA cross-referenced this with top al-Qaeda commanders captured in 2005, like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and Abu Faraj Alibi, both of those guys completely downplayed Abu Hamid's role. They claimed he was retired, a nobody, totally unimportant. This wild contradiction made it incredibly difficult for the intelligence team to know who was actually telling the truth.
Now, it's absolutely crucial to note from the historical record that this conflicting intelligence wasn't just handed over willingly.
The source material neutrally documents, as a matter of historical fact, that information regarding this courier network was extracted using dangerous techniques, including various forms of torture. That is how these specific puzzle pieces regarding the couriers were acquired during those intense early years of the investigation. I mean, just think about how incredibly frustrating this must have been for the CIA. The name they finally got, Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti, was basically useless for a targeted search. It's just a geographical alias. It literally translates to father of Ahmed from Kuwait. So they were chasing a total phantom, an unbelievably vital target, but they had absolutely no real identity to track down in any databases or public records.
Section 4. Tracking the burner phone. A game of patience.
It literally took years of hitting brick walls, but finally, in 2007, another intelligence agency provided a real name, Ibrahim Saeed Ahmed. But to really grasp the sheer scale of the patience required next, just imagine this. The CIA tapped into communications flowing between the Middle East, including Kuwait and Pakistan. They spent 3 agonizing years monitoring 3 million phone calls. 3 million! All just waiting for this specific courier to make one single mistake.
And then, in June 2010, that one mistake finally happened. Surveillance intercepted a call between a man in Pakistan and someone else. Speaking in a mix of Arabic and Pashto, the guy in Pakistan was asked what he was up to. His response? "I'm with the same people I was with before." That one cryptic little phrase was the exact slip-up the CIA had been waiting 3 years for. They had finally confirmed the active presence of their phantom courier.
But, finding him on a phone line is one thing. Pinpointing his actual physical location is a whole different beast. This courier was incredibly skilled at evading tracking. I mean, his operational security was airtight. He used burner phones, he only turned them on for a few minutes at a time, and he strictly activated his device only when he was visiting the city of Peshawar, miles and miles away from his actual home base. But because they had identified his phone routine, a Pakistani CIA agent on the ground was finally able to physically spot and ID him in Peshawar in August 2010.
Section 5. The final midnight raid. Action in Abu Dhabi.
So, physically tailing the courier led investigators straight to this massive, highly secured compound in Abu Dhabi, and they strongly suspected bin Laden himself must be hiding right there alongside him. But here's the catch. The target compound was dangerously close to a prestigious Pakistani military academy. This made the mission unbelievably delicate. The U.S. decided they had to launch a completely secret, high-stakes raid without giving the Pakistani government a heads up. To pull this off, the special units were equipped with highly advanced, heavily modified stealth Black Hawk helicopters, specifically designed to evade Pakistani radar systems as they crossed the border.
Let's look at how this actually went down. On May 1, 2011, right at 11 p.m., 2 of those stealth helicopters took off from an airfield in Jalalabad, Afghanistan. The entire operation inside the compound was planned for a strict 40-minute window. Once they hit the ground in Abbottabad, the Navy SEALs moved with just unbelievable speed. Within the critical first 15 minutes, Osama bin Laden was located on the 3rd floor of the compound and killed. The rest of the time was spent engaging with guards and sweeping the place for every piece of intelligence they could grab. After precisely 38 minutes, the teams exited the compound.
But of course, a mission like this wasn't without some major hiccups. Actually, during the landing, one of those top-secret stealth helicopters actually crashed. Since they couldn't fly it out, the team had to destroy it right there on site just to protect the classified technology. But despite that totally chaotic setback, the team secured bin Laden's body and everyone departed safely in the remaining aircraft. According to U.S. officials, with Saudi permission, his body was swiftly buried in the Arabian Sea within 24 hours of the raid.
So when we step back and look at the entirety of this 10-year operation, it leaves us with this really fascinating thought. How did the world's most elaborate, secure hiding spot get completely undone? Not by an invading army, but by the digital breadcrumb trail of just one brief, careless phone call made by a courier. It just proves that in the modern world of intelligence, extreme patience and connecting the tiniest of dots can bring down the most guarded secrets on Earth. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the details behind the headlines.